Courage was the first quality of strong character that we discussed. We saw that courage is not the absence of fear, but is indeed the presence of fear for the right reasons at the right time and of the right thing. We should not fear failure, for example. Anyone can fail, and virtually everyone does at one time or another. Many outstanding leaders in every walk of life have failed many times and have gone on to greatness nonetheless. But if we should not fear failure per se, we should fear failure to do our best. We should fear failure to live up to the ideals we set for ourselves. A great poet once said, all men would be cowards if they were brave enough. I think there's some truth to that. So embrace your fear, take it inside yourself, and use it as a foundation for true courage. We then considered a pair of qualities that are closely related, honesty and integrity. We saw how telling the truth can be painful in the same way that paying off a debt can be painful. There's a temptation to hedge and equivocate, just as there's temptation to run up large balances on credit cards. But credit buying doesn't make long-term sense in either finances or ethics. In both areas, the interest charges will eat you up, but in the first case, it's only your bank balance that will be destroyed. In the second case, it's your soul. Perseverance was our next element of strong character. We saw how reserve energy is a mark of strong character in any field, and how successful people manage to reach down into themselves for the strength to overcome any challenge, whether external or internal. And we learned why goals are as important to achievement as a net or a baseline, or the ability to keep score is important to tennis. You may become an excellent player without them, but that's not likely. And anyway, how would you ever know? We considered responsibility as an element of strong character, and we saw how most people will do almost anything to avoid it. But we learned also that individuals who seek out responsibility, those who want the ball when the game is on the line, can gain material and spiritual rewards that naturally flow from strong character and the glory that comes with leadership. In our discussion of wisdom, we saw why the desire for it can never be satisfied, and why that very impossibility makes wisdom even more desirable to those who truly love it. We saw how Socrates and Solomon, though different in many ways, were united in their ability to act wisely, and we learned why Socrates' seemingly foolish decision to die unnecessarily was really the fullest expression of his doctrine that wisdom is knowing thyself. Humor, though not often considered a quality of strong character, has proven to be a very important one, particularly in this country, where we see the ability to laugh at oneself as evidence of trustworthiness and fundamental integrity. But in our discussion, we also saw why humor must be handled carefully, and why the difference between saying something funny and being funny oneself is something that should never be forgotten. In session 7, we looked at flexibility as an element of character, and we saw why it's critical to success in every human undertaking. Flexibility is strength without rigidity. It means recognizing what can be controlled and what is beyond our control, and behaving accordingly. It means playing the cards that we're dealt as best we can, and resisting the temptation to think that the deck is stacked against us. Patience, like flexibility, was discussed as an aspect of character that helps us not only cope with the unpredictabilities of fate, but allows us to turn them into the material of success. Patience is the quality that lets us enlist time as an ally, instead of fighting hopelessly against it as an adversary. It's the hallmark of true maturity. Its presence distinguishes the strong character from the weak, and the mature adult from the unfinished, unformed child, whether he's 3 or 33. We discussed confidence as both an intrinsic element of character and as an emotional commodity to be invested in others. Confidence is the ability to inspire trust, yet it can only be achieved by trusting, both in yourself and in the people you meet. If you're truly a confident person, your belief in yourself is strong enough so that the world itself seems safe and oriented toward your success. It's one aspect of a strong character that can literally change the way we perceive reality. Good health, which we considered in session 10, is an aspect of strong character because it springs from wise choices. It's neither a religion, a diet, an exercise program, or the number of calories that we've consumed in a 24-hour period. Rather, good health expresses an awareness of who we are and how we should live in the most fundamental sense. And finally, in the last session, we saw how achievement identifies a strong character in the same way that blossoming fruit identifies a healthy tree. By taking to heart the principles and techniques that you've heard in this program, you most certainly can build an unshakable character. And I have no doubt that success of every kind will follow. And because I have no doubt of that, I'd like to close the program with a few thoughts about how to handle success graciously and wisely when it comes. As you're struggling to achieve your goals, as you're working to break out of old behavior patterns and to overcome the obstacles that will inevitably befall you, I'm in favor of using any means necessary to make progress, as long as it's legal and ethical. If you want to motivate yourself with anger, and many people do this, I say go with whatever works. If you feel you've been wronged at various points in your career, and you look forward to gaining sweet revenge once you reach the top, I say whatever gets you going.